With this energy of the path, it feels like this person is working through a fear of being seen that has been triggered by this dynamic. Because when the two of you are together, the level of happiness, or even just like a very particular, like energetic frequency that you can't help it, it just sort of happens between the two of you that catches the attention of others. Like there's a lot of eyes on this connection that it feels like makes this person very self-conscious because they've never experienced that with anyone before. They may be an introvert, a quiet person, a very private person, and although they know full good and well that, you're an attractive person, they're attracted to you, you make a cute couple, and they would therefore anticipate people would look to a happy couple out and about, with admiration, or, that it would kind of like catch the eye of some people. You'd be noticed in some kind of way. That there was an aspect that has happened between the two of you maybe recently, or has been something that has been the case the whole time, that is finally starting to kind of like put some pressure on this person that lets them know that this is something very out of the ordinary compared to what they are used to. And so this isn't an energy where they are like asking themselves, do I want to continue forward in this connection? Because it feels like they really like you. They really enjoy spending time with you. They want to have more meaningful experiences. They want to have something more serious with you. But it's a process of acclimating to the reality that this is a very high vibrational experience happening between the two of you, and that it's noticed by other people. It captures the attention of other people. And so it's kind of like forcing this person outside of their comfort zone in some sort of way. Because this isn't like negative attention that they're sensing or that this connection is getting at all. It's just a lot of focus. It's like when the two of you walk in a room, all eyes are on you. This person is noticed when you're out in public with one another. You as a couple like turn heads for more than what they are feeling is just that you're like a cute couple, or you look good together, but that there is something in terms of like an energetic phenomenon happening between the two of you, like this very noticeable glow that may be part of like a purpose of why the two of you have come into one another's lives, to sort of like model or display for other people what a high vibrational connection can look like. Maybe the two of you are light workers, and so this is part of that light work that you do together. You get, the enjoyable experience of romance with one another, and the world around you kind of like benefits from this high frequency that is created through the nature of your interactions with one another. But whatever the explanation or reason is behind that, this is definitely something that has posed as like a challenge for this person at this point. It's an opportunity for them to grow outside of that comfort zone. It's something that it feels like they've known about themselves already, like that they're introverted, they're a very private person, they're very shy, they're very like quiet, they're more of an observer, less of like a loud and boisterous personality. And that's something that it feels like they like themselves, they like them as that. And so in previous kind of like romantic connections, it was always with someone that kind of just like, fit in right alongside that. And although there's like compatibility between the two of you, it's not like you're trying to change this person's personality, or, force them outside of their shell, or to like become someone that they're not. They do understand that like this connection between the two of you, it's kind of like forcing them to evolve in some kind of way, at least to the level of acclimating to the understanding, that this is not the kind of connection where the two of you can kind of just like go hide away somewhere quietly, corner booth in the back of the restaurant. And, it's just like an interaction between the two of you that even if, you sort of get to that phase with one another, if you're like out in public, out on dates or whatever, there's something something where you still catch the attention of a lot of like casual onlookers. So it makes this person feel very much in the spotlight at this particular point in time. It's something that they're really struggling with, but they see that this connection, how they feel about you, who you are as a person, you are very meaningful to them, you're very important to them. And so this is something that they're trying very hard to kind of like evolve past that, to understand it on some level, face that fear, and kind of push themselves to almost kind of like lean into that sense of exposure, lean into that sense of vulnerability, maybe starting to think of this as something that has a bigger purpose, because it feels like this is somebody that doesn't necessarily need their ego stroked, by having a lot of attention on romance. It's like they're dating you or they're with you because they like you as a person. This is not something where they've like chosen you or chosen to pursue something for how that's gonna look to other people. And so with this energy of like other people are looking towards us, it has them a bit confused. It's something that is not usually part of like what they need for like validation as a person. And so they're trying to kind of like work with that struggle, that understanding that as you continue to progress forward with one another, you get closer, you get more comfortable with one another, you experience more moments of joy, where the connection itself just strengthens. This is someone that almost anticipates at that level of like catching attention, very easily, very regularly when you're with one another, or even in the same room as one another. You two of you might shift the energy of the room you are in, and other people notice that. Even if you're not having like direct personal interactions with one another, you're like mingling, you're talking to other people, there's still the sense of people just assuming that the two of you are together, kind of like looking towards you, looking towards them, sort of like, connecting the dots and maybe even making certain assumptions. But it feels like it's all kind of like positive energy, good vibes, maybe a bit of curiosity, but it's something that is definitely like outside of this person's comfort zone. They like to kind of fly below the radar. This is somebody who likes to blend in. They don't like to make a big scene. They don't like to make a big fuss. And yet, as far as this connection with you is concerned, it's kind of like, to continue to be in this, they have to sort of, let themselves get to that understanding, get to that point that this is something that even if you have like a very quiet relationship, you're not very like vocal or very public about kind of, what you have going on. You're not that kind of couple that's like thirsty for attention and, all these selfies about, hey, we're living our best life and look at all the fun that we're having. Like, even if you just keep those moments and those memories to yourselves, you're very like minimal and kind of like sharing that with other people. The fact remains that it's like, as you're out and about, as you're having your dates, you're hanging out, you're like with one another, that part of that package, of that experience of the two of you, it comes this energy of kind of like the attention of other people, well-wishing, maybe even a little bit of jealousy and envy at times, but definitely a sense of focus like upon the two of you as a couple, and therefore upon this person as part of that unit, part of, the other half of you in this situation. That is something that it feels like they're struggling with at this point in time to kind of get used to that. We also have fruition. Yeah, so this person sees you as wish fulfillment. And the fact that this connection gets a lot of attention, maybe you yourself get a lot of attention, but certainly like the two of you together gets a lot of attention. And this is something that it feels like is making this person, it's almost activating like a protective mechanism within. Like they want to hold you very close. Like they kind of at times don't like, or they feel very uncomfortable. Like, why are people staring? Why are people like looking at us? Maybe you've even had experiences of like strangers coming up to the two of you, like interrupting dinner, interrupting your time with one another to be like, yeah, you guys are such a cute couple. How long have you been married? How long have you been together? Like just kind of prying into what should be just like special time, quiet time. Almost like a celebrity couple is kind of how this person sort of feels at times. And so this is something that, again, it's like activated this aspect of them that wants to kind of just like hold you close, kind of like shield the two of you in some sort of way from like the prying eyes of the world at large. Because this is something that if they're feeling uncomfortable, there's a part of them that's anticipating you might feel very uncomfortable being in the spotlight in this way. And so this is again kind of like activating that part of them that is just wanting to sort of shelter this connection, but then they're also noticing that that's kind of, it's a valid response or like a reaction on their part, but it's also something that kind of, it's energy that they keep pouring in, to this reflex, but it's something that it doesn't really do a very good job. It's not very effective, or there's like a constancy, almost like being on alert, like when they're in your presence, that they're also trying to kind of like find a way to sort of de-escalate that inside of themselves, so that they can be more present with you in the moment, have a more enjoyable experience with you. And it feels like this is somebody who's really trying to kind of like expand their mind, or, kind of work with their own nervous system in some kind of way, because they might get very nervous at all that sort of attention. It's something where they want to like hold you close. Not that they think that anyone would come in and sort of like swoop their blessing away, but at the same point in time, this is somebody that is, again, like a very private person, a very quiet person, very introspective person. They're not a very showy person. And so it's kind of like they almost want to ask people, like, what are you looking at? Like, what are you staring at? But then they stop themselves from doing that. And so this is something where they're trying to kind of like work with that, because they don't want to lose you. They don't want to kind of, do anything where they're so triggered that they like walk away from this connection, or it's so overwhelming that they, don't kind of take the necessary steps forward with you in order to have something more serious, because they see you as a blessing. They see you as wish fulfillment. They want you all to themselves. And they're starting to kind of come to that understanding that, again, like part of the package of that experience, having a direct experience with you, having a romantic experience with you, that in some sort of way, even if the two of you try to be very incognito when you're out and about with one another, you can't help but attract attention. This is definitely an energy of like, this person is starting to notice that your combined energy field, it creates this almost like flame, and there's all these little moths that come around you, all these people that are even just kind of like sneaking glances, ways in which that this person is kind of thinking like, that's sort of rude, like we're just out trying to have dinner, trying to have coffee. What are these people like staring at? What are they gawking at? Why are all these people like coming up and saying something, making commentary? Like, it's getting kind of intrusive, but it's not something that this person is looking at as a deal breaker. It's just something which is kind of like encouraging them to kind of step beyond their comfort zone in some kind of way, look at sort of the bigger picture of this, or different ways in which they can come up with other coping mechanisms to kind of like de-escalate that frustration, a little bit of kind of like anger that surfaces if this is something that, you've been in situations where it's been kind of like inappropriate, the level of attention this connection gets from other people, or times where it's just like they just want to have a quiet moment with you, and they don't want their attention kind of like distracted by, strangers in the crowded room, kind of like watching the two of you have your quiet time, have your intimate time, have your date time. It's like this person almost feels like the two of you, it's almost like a sitcom or like a reality show, and there's these people, when you're out and about, that are just kind of like, they just become fixated, they just become mesmerized. So this is something that this person has noticed, and they're looking at it from many different angles. They're trying to see the blessing in this, they're trying to see the benefit in this, because again, they don't want their own kind of like sense of self-consciousness, or like a fear of being seen. They don't want that to be something that causes them to kind of like back out of this connection, or walk away because the pressure's too much. Yeah, we also have power, and with that full moon energy, it feels like if you could see the two of you like from another person's perspective, like through another's eyes, it almost feels like, even if you're just kind of sitting next to one another, maybe you're like out at a restaurant, you're both kind of like scrolling on your phones, waiting for the food to come. If you could be like a stranger in that restaurant looking at the two of you, like able to perceive energy and kind of looking at the two of you, it feels like the combined energetic force, it's almost like a force field around the two of you. It's bright, it's like a full moon, like a super moon almost. And this is something that even people that aren't able to read energy, aren't necessarily like psychically sensitive, they pick up on that. It draws and attracts a lot of attention. You both turn a lot of heads as you are walking down the street, as you walk into, these public spaces, these crowded spaces, and it is noticeable enough to this person, that again, they're wanting to like hold you close. It's kind of making them a little bit possessive. It's making kind of their defenses go up, because it's something that, they might only be used to attention like that if it is something that kind of, brings almost like a negative vibe alongside of it. And the thing that is kind of like confusing for them is that it's a lot of this kind of like admiration. Like a lot of people look towards the two of you and this sort of like shared or combined energy that glows so brightly, and it's like they're in awe. There's people that might have even again like come up, different people, and been like, "You're such a cute couple." They just assume that you're married. They assume you've been together for a very long time. It's well wishing for the most part, but it's something that is definitely beyond kind of how this person normally lives their life, ways in which they like to get attention from other people, kind of like the unsolicited opinions of strangers. Feels like this is somebody that again, like, they blend in, they're very incognito, they're not very showy, they don't want like a whole lot of attention, they don't crave that, they don't need that to feed their ego. Like they feed their ego in other ways, and it is not from being like the center of attention, or being the person that needs to kind of show off to others in a way that is like making others envious. That's not something they get off on. And so in this situation with you, it's almost kind of like, okay, they're experiencing, all of this kind of attention, all of these looks. They're seeing that. Maybe, you've noticed it too. The two of you could have talked about this with one another. It feels like it's something that is becoming like increasingly noticeable. That energy, that combined energy is getting brighter and brighter. The more you spend time with one another, the closer that you get with one another. And so this is somebody that is trying at this point in time to like see that from an empowered angle. So if they feel a bit kind of like nervous or tense next time you're out with them, maybe try to like sort of look around the room wherever it is that you are. And I bet that you'll notice it's like, hey, yeah, there's people like staring at us, and it is making this person feel very awkward. That might help to explain a little bit for you, like where this person's at right now, trying to just like work with that, almost like exposure therapy, in the form of just like date night with you, for example, because there is this kind of like fear of being seen that has been activated, it's been triggered within them, but they recognize that this is almost like a challenge. It's a hoop that they need to jump through in order to be able to kind of continue to build a connection with you, continue to have closeness with you. They're trying to embrace that very bright energy that you create with one another without even meaning to. They're trying to look at that as a good thing, because they feel very deeply about you. This is not something where it's like other people look at this connection, with this kind of like, wow, that's a really cute couple. That's a really like, happy couple. They look really good together. And that this person isn't like, thinking along those terms as well. Like they're happy to be with you. They're proud to be seen with you. They really like you. They like how they feel when they are with you. But then there's this added element to this connection where they're not used to, maybe kind of like the world at large being so privy to that energy of like a very palpable joy that is almost created, like an aura of joy that just surrounds the two of you. So be patient with this person as they're trying to kind of, ease themselves into a position when they are with you of just kind of like, yeah, this just comes with the territory of the two of us. When we are together, maybe it's for a higher purpose, or it's just the nature of kind of like some really deep chemistry combined with kind of the recipe of all these like beautiful things, all these good things that work well, or like a mutual interest, mutual effort, intentions that are very aligned with one another to kind of build in that direction of a successful connection. That this is somebody that's trying to kind of embrace that as a good thing, so that they don't miss out on this opportunity with you. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. Like or comment to claim these energies. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more content that I put out here. Don't forget to hit the bell button to get notifications every time I post a new video. And if you'd like to book a personal reading with me, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link for that below. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.